Mike Miller will just get out with me.
Yeah.
It's not little hours, it's crazy times.
Yeah. It's crazy.
My husband keeps teasing me. It's not when his retirement.
No. It's gonna be a long meeting. It's gonna be a long meeting.
I also had to warn Paulette when I was going to hit the gavel because
Made her jump.
I surprised her once.
Okay.
And she wasn't ready for it.
All right, good to know.
I also
I'll try not to jump too much.
checked with Paulette before.
Okay, all right. I might need the wake-up call, though.
There's something to be said for that. Good evening. Call the meeting to order. This is the time and place for the November 7, 2022 school board meeting from Marshalltown Community School District. Welcome to those of you here in person. Welcome to anybody tuning in via the live stream. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching this later on delayed broadcast. We're going to do things a little differently this week than we typically do. First of all, is there any amendments or changes to the agenda?
Yes, we have two changes to the agenda. One is we have in the consent agenda an agreement with Kohler for engines that they're donating for our small engines program at Marshtown High School. And the other is we are going to postpone the high school school presentation until, it'll be postponed till a February date.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Lowry Faltus, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 6-0. I think everybody here and anywhere else is well aware of the tragic events that occurred on Friday evening here in Marshalltown. 4 students, Adrian Lara Mendoza, Isaac Lara Mendoza, Lynette Lopez, and Yanitza Lopez died in a car accident. I can't imagine the sadness, the outrage that their families, their loved ones are probably experiencing and will be experiencing for quite some time. In honor of and in remembrance of those 4 students, we're going to begin with a 2-minute moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. We'll do introductions. To my right, board members Zach Wall, Bonnie Lowry, Jan McGinnis. To my left, Sarah Faltis and Leah Stanley. Joining me here at the center table, Dr. Theron Schutte, the superintendent of schools, Mr. Randy Denham, the board secretary, and I am Sean Heitman. We've also got 3 of our student board members here this evening, Yesenia Alvarez Zamora, Abraham Madrigal Farias, and Jackson Eisenbarth. Couple other items before we get into the business part of the meeting. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speaker's table for anybody who would like to give public comment. You will be given 5 minutes to speak. Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Please also understand that in accordance with board policy, board members may not respond to comments so that we can comply with the open meeting laws. Would you all please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners
Who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning
experiences. And would you all please stand as you're able and join in the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam, do we have some recognitions?
Theron, were you gonna, did you want to do recognition?
Yeah. Ryan's here.
Okay. So first tonight, we want to go ahead and invite Mr. Brady Ridout. Okay, awesome. Mr. Brady Ridout, he is the general manager at the local Legends American Grill, and we also have Ryan Isgrig, our MHS activities director. So each year, sales of Bobcat Burgers, a portion of those sales go to the MHS activities department in the form of a donation. So we're gonna let these 2 gentlemen tell you more about that and about this year's donation.
We're supposed to talk, I guess. Okay. I feel like I do this every year, Theron. All right, so about 3.5 years ago, I took over at Legends American Grill, and I had a concept and wanted to bring the idea to the owner, Dan Mullers, of creating an environment there that gives back to the community, gives back to the kids of the school district. So we created what was known as the Bobcat Burger, which it's 2 quarter-pound patties, 4 slices of cheese, 4 slices of bacon, sauteed onions, shredded lettuce, all that good stuff on there. And then every time it's sold, $1 of all proceeds will be collected. Once a year, we turn in a check to the school district for the activities committee or activities department. And then, yeah, I mean, it's going well. Each year has been more and more and more. So we hope to continue to grow that. And hopefully next year our goal is to be about 1,500 and hopefully $2,000. And can't do that without you guys all stopping in and buying one. So just remember that when you're out, get a Bobcat Burger.
Yeah, thank you very much, and come hungry. That I've had it before. It's really good, but yes, it certainly will make you full. But no, appreciate the support, and also love the sign outside of your restaurant, Home of the Bobcats. So that's great to see. A lot of people drive by and see that. So we really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brady.
All right, and next tonight, we want to recognize 2 high school students, Landon Stanley and Yesenia Alvarez Zamora. Both of them took part in last month's World Food Prize Global Youth Institute, and they presented research that they had done about addressing food security issues. So both students are here tonight. I'll invite them up, and along with MHS XLP teacher Susan Fritzell, and they'll describe a little bit more about the great ideas that these students shared at the Global Youth Institute.
I don't think you guys will me. Go ahead. I'll say one thing, though. These two are so well-spoken, I don't think I need to say anymore. But I want to be sure that you know that they were interviewed on Iowa Public Radio's Talk of Iowa on October 22nd, and they really spoke highly of our district, so you need, all of you, your homework is to tune it on. 8 students from around the state were interviewed, and they were the first 2, and they did an outstanding job. So, but they should tell you about being part of the Global Youth Institute. 300 students from around the nation and world were part of this virtual conference, but they had to present their own research that they kind of combined with their science fair projects. Was really unique, and I think that's why Talk of Iowa interviewed them too. But they can tell you a little bit about what they researched.
My name is Landon Stanley, and I am a 10th grader here at Marshalltown High School. And my World Food Prize paper was on water insecurity in Angola. And as a solution to the water insecurity that has been happening there for quite some time now, I proposed what I had been studying in my science fair research, and that was SODIS, which is a CDC recommended form of water purification using sunlight and water. SODIS stands for solar water disinfection, and it basically works by exposing bottles of water to sun for 6 hours to 2 days, depending on cloud cover.
All right, well, hello. So just to give you a little bit of background, being first generation Mexican American, growing up in this town, seeing the contrast of food availability here to my own country of origin was something very shocking to my young mind. So I came to appreciate the agriculture aspect of feeding the world a lot. And I try to nurture that interest as I grew. And then when fertilizer prices started skyrocketing, I realized that a lot of these sustenance farmers weren't going to be able to feed themselves anymore. And so I directed my time into creating a science fair project that I later turned into a World Food Prize paper regarding biochar, which was a carbonated biomass that acted both as a water retention source and a rich source of nutrients and fertilizer for plants. But yeah, that is, both have different kind of reasonings for going into it, but we've both taken a lot from the experience and are very thankful. Mm-hmm. You guys have any questions?
Super cool.
Super impressive.
Right?
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and tonight we also want to recognize Vanya Madrigal-Ibarra. She's a junior at MHS, and she had her Spanish language article. This is another great example of the biliteracy that our students display. She had an article written and published in Hola, Iowa, but also Hola America News. And so that's a pretty widely distributed Spanish language newspaper in the Midwest, particularly in Iowa and Illinois. So we want to invite her up. And joining Vanya is her MHS Heritage Spanish teacher, Kristen Stutches.
So it's an honor to introduce Vanya Madrigal. When I think of our mission statement, she is that embodied. Everything that she does, she's doing in an excellent way, and also thinking of others and trying to make the world a better place, and Marshalltown leaving her wake of excellence behind. She wrote, an article, quite a long article, in both Spanish and English, and the article is about her strong desire to encourage the younger generations to lead. And so, and the thing is that she's doing it. So she's creating a new club called Mujeres, and she's speaking in my classes to the freshman students and empowering them with her words and with the way she lives her life. So, Vania, could you talk to us a little bit about your article?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Well, my inspiration for this article was mostly about telling my story to others, and as well as making others speak up about what matters to them, what is their story, and how would they want to be seen. Many times I've seen that other students have the potential to become really great leaders in our community, and I want to be the tool and the connection so that they can achieve that. Since being a youth, I feel like I would have a much greater impact on my peers, since they can relate to me and I can relate to them. They can tell me what matters to them, what they're passionate about, and with that I can help them create their own narrative and create their own reality. Coming from another country makes me face the two realities of what is society, and I really want to create my own and help others create their own so that they can tell their story and express what matters to them. Being involved in a nonprofit organizations such as the National Hispanic Institute and Al Éxito have been a really great tool, as well as my teachers, since they have helped me get prepared to become what I am right now. Without the help of them, I believe that I wouldn't have made all the accomplishments along with them, since it takes really big courage to stand out for our community, and I want to represent our community wherever I go in the future, or whatever I am. I want them to view Marshalltown reflected in me and our really great diversity, which is a really appreciated thing in our community.
Guys, anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm going to ask your help. As a Rotarian, we are starting an Interact Club at MHS. I would encourage you to become a member of that Interact Club. We are looking for young people who are leaders, who want to make an impact, that have passion, and want to do something within the community to make it better. And with your leadership, with your peers, that would be awesome. Mr. Weidenauer is the person you need to go see at the high school. I'm just plugging it. Interact Club, yes.
Right.
So just a quick side note, last week, Mrs. Wyant, myself, Mrs. Inks helped facilitate a discussion amongst about 8 different school districts who are Hispanic serving in terms of high numbers or population density, especially of second language students, encouraging them to consider joining us in our participation in the National Hispanic Institute. And Chris Nieto, who is the vice president, specifically mentioned you in your recent article as an example of what they're trying to accomplish with youth through that organization. So I commend you for being recognized nationally, actually, for your work.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So we're also wanting to recognize American Education Week, which is the week this year. It starts on the 13th, next week. And it's just a celebration of public education and those who provide that education. It's, I feel like I do this a lot where I tell you about these recognitions, and you are some of the people who know some of the most about the importance of various staff and teachers and paraeducators, everybody who's involved in providing these services to students. So like I said, that'll be next week, starting on November 13th. And I believe...
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so each year around this time, we make a point of recognizing our veteran employees with Veterans Day quickly approaching. We have 15 employees who have veteran status, and we've asked Vice President Fultus to read the proclamation from President Biden relative to Veterans Day.
This month, our nation honors the strength and sacrifices of the families, caregivers, and survivors of our veterans and our current service members. They may not wear uniforms, but their service is essential to our national security and the character of our nation. We owe them a debt of gratitude that we can never fully repay. Constant tours, deployments, and rotations are difficult for our military families. Jill and I have personally experienced the anxious pride that parents feel seeing their child in uniform. We have marveled at the devotion of military families and their resilience to uproot their lives every few years and move to new communities. We honor the stalwart courage and resolve of veteran families caring for their loved ones when their service in uniform concludes. We grieve alongside families of the fallen who have lost a piece of their soul. That is why I take so seriously the sacred obligation to prepare and equip our service members when we send them into harm's way and to care for them and their families when they return home. Since coming to office, I have signed into law important expansions of services and benefits to support our veterans and their families, improved VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances through the PACT Act, and made historic reforms to the military justice system that will enhance safety and protections for service members and their families impacted by sexual assault and domestic violence. The First Lady's Joining Forces initiative is helping military spouses find jobs, connecting military children with better education, and helping to ensure that military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors have what they need to thrive. My administration has also released a comprehensive public health strategy to reduce military and veteran suicides, which will guide our efforts to stand with families and protect the lives of our nation's heroes. To be a veteran or a service member is to have endured and survived challenges most Americans will never know. To be the family of one of those proud patriots is to sacrifice more for our country than most Americans will ever give. During National Veterans and Military Families Month, we pay homage to the unrelenting bravery and dedication of all who wear the uniform and to the unwavering love and support of all who serve alongside them. Families who put their lives on hold so our military can hold the line represent the best of America, and we will always remember what they do for our nation. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2022 as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I call upon the people of the United States to honor veterans and military families with appropriate ceremonies and activities. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 31st day of October in the year of our Lord 2022, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 247th. Joseph R. Biden Jr.
Thank you, Sarah. Looking at the consent agenda, we've got minutes from the October 17th school board meeting. Are there any items of note in personnel, Dr. Schutte?
There are not.
We've got a number of agreements and contracts. a proposal for geotechnical engineering for the high school athletic complex with Terracon, a local school plan to implement the Iowa Department of Education and Iowa Voc Rehab Services, a 3-year contract with the Cook Center for Human Connection for a package of 12 virtual mental health events, a Windstream amendment agreement to add point-to-point connection to the Orpheum, a school and facility contract with Catholic Heart Work Camp, contract with Computer Information Concepts to allow modifications to be done on student transcripts, 4 statewide voluntary preschool agreements, 1 with St. Francis, 1 with the YMCA, 1 with Bobcat Academy, and 1 with Micah, a Timberline billing agreement amendment, a contract to provide services with the Center for Responsive Schools for consultation and training, and an engine donation agreement with Kohler to receive 16 Kohler engines. Questions about any of those contracts or agreements? Looking at open enrollments, we have 4 in and 8 out. Any items of note in the bills, Randy?
No.
And then gifts and grants, we've got a donation from the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 2 to help support winter gear for Hoagland students and families, a donation from the Kiwanis PM Club to purchase winter clothing and nurse supplies at Woodbury Elementary, the $1,200 donation from Legends American Grill towards MHS activities, and the donation from Kohler Co. to receive 16 Kohler engines. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Lowry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Zach, is there, somebody's on the pink sheet, right?
Anna Holbert is the only one.
Would you grab that? Anna?
Good evening, Anna Wolvers, Section 4-2 resident. And I have 2 things I wanted to just bring up that are not on the consent agenda or the agenda. But as a former employee, I was trying to get rehired as a substitute now that my schedule has freed up a little bit. And Marshalltown's way of doing it, it sends you to the Teach Iowa thing, which redid all of their stuff in 2020 and didn't transfer anything. So as an applicant to apply for any of your positions, I have to upload like 30 things. And before I even become an applicant, it says, I authorize selected district members to make such investigations and inquiries as may be necessary. In arriving at an employment decision, I hereby release employers, schools, or persons from all liability in responding to inquiries in connection with this application. I said, absolutely no deal. But I will tell you, local surrounding districts, I call on a Thursday, I have paperwork by Tuesday, and I'm hired by Friday. And that includes fingerprinting at the police station, which can happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're hurting for subs, I'm literally getting called multiple times a day in other districts. And they have the old school system of people calling from the school or texting subs rather than your ASOP, which when I was an employee, I'd meet people in the community and I'd say, why aren't you subbing? You're good. And they say, we don't get calls. But then the principal would say they couldn't find them in the system. So sometimes maybe old school's best. Literally fill out tax paperwork, had my fingerprints done, and had to have 2 forms of proof of ID, and I'm in the door. They're literally calling me, like fighting over who gets me elementary or middle school. So just kind of a point of reference for you guys to help you increase subs. There are some of us that might be willing, but I'm not releasing all liability, especially in today's age, or uploading 30 things when I worked here for 14 years and you have my info. The second thing, the CDC recently suggested adding the COVID vaccine to their required list or suggested list, but they did make it clear, and I did watch the meetings, that it's still at a local basis. And our governor has made it a law for the next 2 or 3 years that schools and daycares can't require that. But they did say in all their long meetings for those 2 days that it's still a local control issue. So I strongly encourage you, when you're making those rules for enrollment, to kind of let more research be done about that and leave it a choice rather than a requirement. But I know a lot of schools go by those CDC recommendations, but they're not mandates. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are clear on that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Andrew? There's Terry. You disappeared on me. And I thought, did Terry run off and just leave Andrew here by himself?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Sir. Hey, thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, good evening. I'm Terry Gray, and I'm currently serving as president of the Marshalltown Youth Foundation. And we were invited to come and just clue you in on what the foundation does. For one thing, we just want to spread the word. The Marshalltown Youth Foundation has 2 prongs. It's a 2-prong focus that we have. And one is to help with registration fees for kids in various activities. And the second one is the musical instrument lending library that we have going. So in help with registration fees, we only pay a portion of the fee just to help families perhaps afford things that they otherwise couldn't afford. The family must be on public assistance of some sort, and they must be a resident of the Marshalltown Community School District. We don't do a lot of checking on that. We just take their word for it. When they apply for a voucher, we just ask them if they live in the school district and if they are on some kind of assistance. So that's the registration portion of it. On the slide, you can see last year, more than $7,300 was used to help defray costs for kids. Andrew?
All right, and we'll talk a little bit about the instrument lending library, which is the next slide. So currently 140 instruments from our lending library being utilized by Marshalltown band students in grades 5 through 12. So they get heavy use, and you'll hear later that a lot of those instruments are coming from our community. So definitely, my wife is a Miller Middle School band teacher who happens to be pictured there. How'd that end up there? So, and she said basically, I mean, that it really helps the bands operate, and it's vital for the operations of the school district that we're in right now. So we're really happy that those instruments are getting utilized.
So our organization was incorporated in 1998, so we've been around for a while, and we have an all-volunteer board of directors, of which Dr. Schutte is one. We decide what agencies that we work with, and we try to work closely with them. Our goal in providing assistance for these programs is a third and a third and a third, so that we would pay 1/3 of the cost, families would pay 1/3, and the organization would pay another third. Now, that isn't set in stone, and there are some different examples, like the Parks and Recreation sponsored swim lessons. We pay for half of that cost for students to take swim lessons. But anyway, what we wanted is a partnership between the organizations that we work with, the families, and us. And it's to get kids involved at the grassroots level. When it's AAU teams and things like that, right now, we aren't sponsoring those, for one thing. It's a big financial commitment. So it's basically for kids to try activities, the soccers and softballs and baseballs and things like that, taekwondo, different things that we can help kids participate in. The families receive a voucher from us, and then they go to the organization and work out the rest of the details with them, and then the organization sends us a bill for that voucher.
Yeah, so we are a United Way agency, no, go back to there, sorry. We're a United Way agency, and we receive donations from all sorts of community groups. The school district has given us donations, and they've done a Jeans Day, and they recently gave us a donation for the Be a Bobcat t-shirts sales, so we appreciate the school district's support on that. And we take donations of used instruments from the community. There's the mayor giving me a clarinet a few months ago. So, yeah, but so we take donations from all the community, and people say, oh, I haven't played it in a while. We'll take it, and if we have to use it for parts, we'll use it for parts, but we'll definitely try to get some use out of instruments that come from the community. So lots of different ways that we either raise funds or get instruments, and so and our board members include this next slide. So if you know any of these people and you want to give them instruments, they'll gladly take them, or any donations for the Youth Foundation. So a couple different school district employees, Theron and Anel from Woodbury is on there, so, yep.
So that's us in a nutshell. We
And
didn't
I
want
just
to
want to
take
share.
too much of your time.
Yeah, I just want to share this one quote. This one mom had a daughter who was, pretty shy and had trouble meeting people, but she gave us this quote that one clarinet changed the life of my daughter and has opened up new opportunities for her future. So she really saw, made friends in band and was able to use one of our instruments to kind of help her for her future. And that's just kind of the impact that we look to make, so. Awesome.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the support. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Tara? I think it's you.
All right, hello, my name is Tara Gray. I am the agricultural teacher here at Marshtown High School, and I have signed up to be the FFA advisor, which is why we're here to talk to you a little bit today. So I'll let these lovely ladies introduce themselves.
So I'm Lydia Caldwell, the president of the FFA chapter.
My name is Bella Sortron. I'm a junior, and I'm the vice president.
Roll. I don't know if we can control that. Can we control that?
No.
So this is the 3-circle model. The classroom/laboratory is, we already have 4 classes for FFA. The FFA is what we're trying to input in our school. It's the Future Farmers of America. And then the SAE is what would come after inputting FFA. It's a workplace organization type thing.
Some opportunities within FFA is we'll be attending the National FFA Convention and the State FFA Convention, the contest, and networking.
The program of activities, we have Growing Leaders, which is how we can improve our members within the FFA community. Growing Communities, which is how we can improve our community. And then Strengthening Agriculture, which is how we can improve agriculture within our community in other communities.
For Growing Leaders, for leadership, we have the Green Hand Fire Up, State Convention, National FFA Convention, Officer Training, and FFA Leadership. We have Healthy Lifestyle, which is we'll be doing a dance revolution right before prom. For scholarship, we'll be doing the Outstanding Senior Award, so we'll be awarding one of our members personal growth, which is an FFA member project, spring break and degree advancement, and career success, and FFA shadow experience, where we're having members of our FFA to go and shadow for a day the job they want to do.
Building communities. We have Helping Hands, which is where we will be going to different like veterans homes and just what's the word? Yeah, volunteering our time to help them. Human Resources, which is the holiday drive, which is where we're doing like canned goods, even like toys and stuff like that. We have Citizenship, which is roadside cleanup.
stakeholder engagement, which is just ag in the classroom, and then economic development, which is Chuck the Duck, which is, we were thinking at the basketball games, we could have different organizations donate gift cards and such, and we'll play Chuck the Duck.
For strengthening agriculture, we'll be having a support group, which is we'll have adults do contest judging. Chapter recruitment, which is will be a club fair. At the club fair, safety, which is we'll do like an ag safety day, which was handling animals. Agriculture advocacy, which is FFA legislative. Symposium. Agriculture literacy, which we heard is here first, which is like we go to the middle school, Lenahan, and we'll be doing yarn stuff.
The cost to have a chapter. State dues per person is $7.50. National dues per person is $7. You'd have to have chapter paraphernalia and members' individual jackets.
Paraphernalia needed is club jackets, officer stations, and the FFA banner.
And then that's it. The other documents that were provided to you, that is information that we have to send the state association. So the POA, or the program of activities that the girls talked about, that has been developed by the FFA members as activities of what they would like to do within our first year. So there's 3 divisions of the POA. Each division has 5 subcategories, if you will. And we have to provide that to the state association to show that we're doing all 3 of those POAs. So the other documentation, if you'd like to look over it, the chartering application is just what we send the state, stating how many members we have, who our members are, what we would want to be called. The kids decided on just Marshalltown. We didn't go with a highway or a river or anything that's close like some chapters did. And then the POA, again, like I said, that has to be required. That's a long document. Some of it is pretty straightforward, stating what our motto is as a FFA, what the mission is, what our colors are, and then the Constitution and bylaws also has to be delivered to them as well. Do you guys have any questions?
What's the goal for membership? You guys have a goal put together, how many members you want to have?
Yeah, so right now, we're still pretty new. This will be our 3rd year of ag courses, but our 1st year of full-time, so our scheduling's pretty nice. We have 10 members right now that are committed and that have been helping us with the POA. Once we open it up, I would say that we'll probably get another 5 to 8 kids. But the kids' big goal this year is recruitment. So they really want to push hard in the spring. We're hoping to get in January to Miller when they start their scheduling and have the kids talk to Miller 8th graders about what opportunities are in the classroom and what opportunities are within FFA. Most chapters in the state of Iowa are going to sit around 40 to 50 kids. The largest is actually West Marshall, and they have just over 200, I believe, which is essentially their entire school because they're a completely affiliated chapter. So.
I have a question. I don't know a lot about FFA. Do they do anything with restorative or regenerative agriculture?
It can. So the contest that Lydia talked about, there's CDEs, which are career development events. They focus really pinpoint on what career you want to go into. So there's a floriculture one, there's a livestock judging one, there's a vet tech one, which our vet tech course will take that or do that CDE. And then there's also LDEs, which are leadership development events. And so they focus more on like your soft skills needed for business employment. So there's job interview, public speaking, extemporaneous speaking. Most, FFA, actually the World Food Prize, which was spoken earlier, that's actually predominantly FFA kids that participate in it. So there's a huge abundance of activities that we can involve ourselves in. It's really just up to what the direction the kids want to take the program in.
So why did each of you decide to be a part of this program? What interested you in FFA?
I guess my goal in the future is to be a veterinarian, and FFA will probably help me get there and give me some more experience for that.
I also want to be a veterinarian, vet tech type thing. I like animals, and working with them is always good. I also grew up around farm stuff, so It's always been something kind of interesting to me. It also helps with leadership and stuff like that, and that's also a big deal to me. So.
Very good.
What are officer stations?
Officer stations are the plaques. FFA is very formal, so each officer is stationed by something. So the president is stationed by the rising sun, the vice president is by the plow, the advisor is by the owl. So we have station markers that would be in front of us, just like your guys' names, that have the symbol with what they're called. They're needed for all formal events like banquets or other hosting events when we have people come in. We would also use those for any meetings.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So we need a motion to approve the submittal to the Iowa Future Farmers Association for the creation of the Marshtown FFA as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wall, there was like 3 of you that seconded that. Leah, were you one of them? All right, Wall, Stanley, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on down.
So, my name is Brett Umpton, head band director here at Marshalltown. I came in 2010. I was associate director for a number of years, of course, and then when Brett Lee retired, I became head director. I've been on several trips out of state, and I'm looking forward to heading this one up, if approved, to Orlando, Florida. Our dates there March 9th through 15th. This one is similar to our previous trip that we took in 2020 with some additions. So I have some more information on the next few slides. The big educational component of our trip is the soundtrack session, where the students will work with a professional musician, director from Disney Parks itself, and they will work with the students. They get new music the day of. Will bring their instruments in a concert band setting. They will play music for a soundtrack. The last time we played music for Tarzan, the person in the back worked his magic and mixed it on the spot, and he was able to play the students along with a video recording of clips of Tarzan. So they get the experience of live musicians and the studio type performance. And the Disney Dancing Workshop is for our color guard to have the opportunity to work with a professional in that capacity, learn some different techniques, and also put their skills to use in a DVD and like a choreography that they'll learn in the morning. The band parade at Magic Kingdom is a extremely exposed. We have lots of thousands of people watching, participants. It is an experience to be remembered from students, myself, having been there myself, being able to march down the Magic Kingdom and then look behind the band and see the castle is quite memorable. The students learn a lot through the marching band season in the fall, and then we continue working on the music for one of our show songs to demonstrate Iowa and our marching prowess at the Disney parks. Parks themselves then, the students are able to have some downtime with Hollywood Studios, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure. We took out Epcot this year to involve the Kennedy Space Center as an option to get the students exposed to another first-time experience that the kids, first in a lifetime. Ron John's Surf Shop and the Cocoa Beach is a memorable experience for the students. The day is packed, and the whole schedule can be build relationships, like I said, create memories for a lifetime. We want the students to come away from the experience with gained valuable playing experience, as well as just building friendships for a lifetime. The next one has some more on the travel company. We've worked with them for a number of years, founded in 1981. I've worked with and communicated with our travel agent, most recently trying to get some details in place. We have a travel coordinator that helps us closer to the trip, and there's a tour director on site that will take us around, be on the buses, and help us get to where we need to go in a timely manner, help troubleshoot bus breakdowns if that ever happens, which it happened on our 2016 trip going to Arizona, where we had to cancel our flights and take buses down there, and then one of the buses broke down, so we spent 24 hours at a McDonald's. So we're in a small town in Phoenix, somewhere in Arizona, so that was a memory for sure. Definitely will not forget about that.
It was an epic memory.
Epic, indeed.
Memory.
Yes. They have a payment system to help facilitate for the families and the students to pay for the trip. I kind of break down the costs on the next slide. There is travel insurance, optional for families through TripMate. Because of COVID, they've worked through a lot of safety precautions in the health area, as well as the finances. So this is our approximation, quad rate, meaning 4 students per room. Anticipating 129, could be less, could be more, depending on how students sign up. This is an optional activity and trip. We're not forcing any students to go. There are some students that we have been able to pay for in the past and help finance, and the families have chosen not to for various reasons. I have the double rate for staff chaperones, and sometimes there's a single rate. I did not include that because that doesn't happen too often. We have fundraisers to help. Goal is to raise $15,000 to lower the individual cost for our students. We have one coming up, which we've started already to help our process along with our 4 Seasons and coffee. Really excited about that one. We have our pasta dinner, scratch cupcake, another 4 Seasons, and pasta dinner. So helping the students make this financially viable is our goal, that all students that want to participate can and should participate with our ensemble. And I've talked to the boosters about helping cover the staff cost and the chaperones. Our staff, speaking of the chaperones, our staff, we have 5 staff members in the district for the band. So they'll be the primary chaperones, along with their significant others, spouses, if they choose to go, as well as some parents that can elect to be chaperones. And the next slide, I think. Is there a next slide? Or is that it?
That's it.
That is it. Short and sweet. I didn't want to give too much detail, but the students look forward to it. The staff look forward to it. As I mentioned before, it is a valuable experience. It is a good exposure for Marshalltown to be represented in the parade, and I am looking forward to it. Looking forward to heading it up and making it another memorable experience.
Questions from anybody?
I think I've attended your pasta dinner numerous times, but what's the 4 Seasons coffee?
That is just the name of the fundraising company, 4 Seasons Fundraising, and the coffee fundraiser company is CFA. So we're combining those to start the fundraiser packets, and order forms are out now to have the items. Our fruit fundraiser has been going on a long time, so we've kind of transitioned it into 4 Seasons, which has a fruit component. And the coffee is just that. It is a
Okay, so it's
buying
like,
bags of coffee.
so it's replacing when the kids came to my door and I bought fruit from them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's in addition to, yeah.
All right.
So if people not everyone likes fruit, but they like to buy their fruit in certain areas. We do have a meat and cheese option for those. It's a great Christmas stuffer, holiday stuffers for New Year's. And a lot of people enjoy coffee, as you know, from around town, Starbucks and Dunkin'. So it's a nice way. The bags come packaged with Marshalltown Band on it. Lots of good flavors. So I hope you guys are able to participate. Hopefully the band students will come around to ask for your assistance.
Brett, is it every other year you guys do a trip or every 4
Every
years? 4 years, okay.
4.
So pre-COVID was the last one.
Yep, as we were coming back, things shut down. Yeah.
Other questions?
I assume you're flying this trip.
Still driving.
Still
That one's
driving.
the most
Okay.
cost effective
Okay.
for that one. It's a 24-hour plus bus ride. It is with the charter buses, 2 charter buses. We can put our instruments underneath that we need to, and luggage fits pretty well. Depending on the bus service, they have Wi-Fi for students, very limited Wi-Fi, but yeah, charter bus coaches.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the out-of-state band field trip to Disney World in Orlando, Florida on March 9 through the 15th, 2024 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Have
Thank you very
fun.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll be sending updates.
I'll try and contain my passion for this project.
We have been very excited to sit before you and share these details for quite some time. And we've been very patient with the courthouse and as they use the Orpheum through, their renovation project following the tornadoes. So it's given us extra time to think about all the details that could go into the Welcome Center and how we could truly serve our community and students. You'll see up on this title page, we have whole student. You've probably heard that term before. You may not have heard the term whole family. So really thinking through the Welcome Center and a whole family registration and intake. We have Rachel Inks with us here, and she has been my elbow partner through this entire project and trying to draw up all the details. There's not one person, I wholly believe, in the entire state of Iowa, maybe further than that, that has the skills to take on a project like this and make it successful. So she will be doing the majority of the talking tonight, and I can jump in as you need.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm really pleased tonight to be with you to really talk about Bobcat better and reimagining some of our processes that we've had in place for a long time and really meeting the needs of our super diverse families that we serve in Marshalltown schools. I also want to point out that this is specifically Superintendent Goal 3B, if you want to take a look at that in front of you.
Laminated. Just laminated.
Draw your attention to that. I noted that back there.
The list.
Yeah. So keep in mind that I'm just trying to paint a broad picture today for you, just to get a sense and a feel of what will happen at our Welcome Center. And so this first slide just serves to show you the footprint that will occupy within the Welcome Center itself. So having that east side entrance and then maintaining some first floor space and really being a place that's a hub of uniting our schools and our communities is kind of what we're going for that theme. Next one, please. Thank you. All right, I want to start with sharing a little bit about the purpose, the need that we have for a Welcome Center community, the preparatory research that we've done, and we're still ongoing in that, and then what staff would occupy that space and what would that footprint look like within the Orpheum as well. So we're going to start chipping those off one at a time. So the purpose of the Welcome Center is really to offer that new and efficient way for prospective families to choose Marshalltown. We want them to discover what our school systems can do in support of the families that we serve, choose Marshalltown, thrive in Marshalltown, and also want to give an opportunity to specialize and work with having that lens on attending to those unique needs of our families that have immigrant experiences, migratory experiences, and English learner needs that we need to quickly prepare ourselves to move forward on and ready ourselves. We also want to acknowledge that a lot of our staff will be supported through those funding streams. So we do recognize that it's important to support all families moving into our school system, but also want to have that vein of importance through that population as well. So just we want to bring you kind of a lift forward of some statistics around these kind of reasons that match the purpose for our Welcome Center, in that we want to just take a pause and talk about, who are we as a system? What do we know about our students and our families? So our English learner population still continues to be dense. So in a nutshell, we are the 4th highest count in Iowa, according to 21-22 enrollment, that was, in Marshalltown. And we also sit at the 4th highest in the percent of total enrollment for our school systems. I went ahead and listed those other 3 for you as well, so you just get a feel for that. Storm Lake and Denison are about half of our size, a little over half, a little under half. And then Postville is very small, so we sit really in a unique space of that density. We also are diverse. We've learned that tonight through many of our presentations. I would even share with you that we're super diverse. We have 42 languages besides English that our families and students use. Birth countries is something that we've seen a little uptick in. We've noticed that now 9.4% of our students are born outside of the U.S., having about 41 different birth countries along with that U.S. birth country marker. And they all come to us through different journeys. They might have an immigrant experience, migratory experiences, refugee experiences, or even a term that's beginning to gain traction with our Ukraine persons that are here are displaced persons. And so it's really an opportunity to learn more about their journey and how we can help them move forward in their educational needs with our school system. We've also seen an uptake in new student enrollment data. This is not, the Welcome Center would not be necessarily a hub for students who have continuous enrollment, right? Who are moving from our students one year and continuing to be our students the next year. Our focus would be to have that lens of support for new students that arrive into the system. So I just wanted to share with you some statistics over the last few years and just kind of point out that so far into the new school year, this is not counting preschool, this would be just kindergarten through 12th grade, we've had 398 new students join our school system. And that would be students who we were not anticipating to join after July 1. So we'd already accomplished our contact with kindergarten families that are coming into the system. And then in addition, just since the start of school, we've had 125 new students join our system. So that's a lot since day number 1 of school. That number is trending higher, and you can see this is only as of November 1st, so we are only expecting that number to rise. I personally am working with families from Ukraine, and we're seeing those, I would say, about once every 3 weeks joining our system. I just met with a family today, Ukraine, that's bringing 3 students into our system as well. I also want to draw our attention to a communication audit report that was done in 2021, strongly suggesting that we begin an international welcome center, and with the purpose of enhancing communication and better serving the needs and interests of non-English speaking and minority families. And that report also indicated that many school districts with diversity trends similar to those experienced by MCSD have created a district-wide department that's especially geared toward non-speaking English newcomers. So we can enroll our students anywhere in Marshalltown schools, but I believe we can open our Welcome Center and really focus on learning more about our families and learning more about those experiences and really thinking through that lens on an initial time and intake process that we can then share with our families and share with our attendance centers. So again, and the final thing that I wanted to share with you that during the 21-22 school year, that's an error up there, we made 3 visits to Des Moines Public Schools, which has a Welcome Center, to Cedar Rapids, which has a Welcome Center in addition, and then we zoomed with Sioux City, that also has a Welcome Center. This year, in December, we're looking at targeting a date to Atumwa to go visit their Welcome Center. They just opened that this school year. So it'll be a good opportunity to really kind of dig into what their experiences have been and what they have learned and help us grow with that. The staff that will be on site and will be also connected to our central office staff as well. So I just starting from the tree on down, and this is a little bit hard to see on the screen, but the persons that are connected with the blue boxes will be on-site staff at the Welcome Center, which will be at the Orpheum. And then the persons that are in the red, which is the top, and then the top right, will remain here at central office, but are very connected with Welcome Center happenings. So in general, what the most important piece I want you to know on this screen is that we will be hiring 1 additional staff to make this come forward and live out in Marshalltown schools, and that's our new family liaison. We're looking for that just right person that can bring that I would say the social lens of really working with the families and having that careful intake process to learn those stories and then to be able to turn that around and share it with the school systems. We're also looking for that new family liaison to be able to work with community partners and connect our families with resources that are needed. So often we find about those connections once we realize that there are some struggles in place. And it's our opportunity to be open with our families and ask them if there's anything that they might need to start out their journey right away in Marshalltown schools and connect them with those resources. We'll have 4 staff over there, myself. I'll also join that staff and just do probably a gentle shift my title, just more encompassing a diversity population as well. And then we will have our receptionist who will join, who is currently already on staff as our program support person. Yeah, you can do this one.
Okay, so the staffing is very exciting, although if you've been in my office area, Rachel is literally right next door, so it's gonna be a pretty sad day when she does take off and spread her wings over to the Welcome Center. We will hire a new intake or family intake specialist who we hope to be bilingual and to be able to kind of fulfill a lot of the different gaps and skills that we know we need to have over there. This is the actual footprint for the Orpheum, so if you've been in there, this probably makes a lot of sense to you. The big square is what we call the black box, if you haven't been in there. Anything that's not in that blue tint is not a part of the Welcome Center footprint. So that east entrance, the beautiful 2-story windows, you go straight in those doors, and right now that entrance or kind of lobby area typically I think had these tables with coffee chairs. It might have been like a seated area for people or an overflow area for the coffee shop. And really we're looking at trying to put some seating in there for family members and have like a countertop that is spacious enough for both our Stacy Mommer and our receptionist to sit there. And then the bigger area, and I can't read the number on that. Can you read the room number?
I think it's labeled as a learning studio, maybe.
Okay, so the learning studio is actually the location where we would provide some of those wraparound services for the family, and they'd spend the majority of their time processing that registration. And many of you might have been in our buildings during the start of the school year. You might even have been in the central office area where you walk in and you see families sitting and waiting. That registration process really or enrollment process can take quite a while. So we're really thinking through the lens of if they bring in young kids and children, how do we help them, the families feel at home and at ease with this entire process that it takes to collect their information, and then connect them to agencies. So before I get too detailed, I'm looking at Rachel's next slide. Let's go to the next one here. And Rachel, I can pass it back to you.
Yeah, so this is a slide that really serves to connect the community mural that's on the outside of the Orpheum right now, entitled Perspective. And that's exactly what we want to do, carry that theme on the inside, that getting perspective on our families that join us, really sitting down and meeting with them eye to eye, and having that face-to-face conversation and learning so much more about them. As an example of what I worked with tonight, earlier this evening with our family from Ukraine, is I used part of the processes that we're trying out. One of these is the Bobcat board book, I would say. And I use that to have a conversation with our families about what does school look like in America. That is not something that's familiar to our families, and so that's a process that I was able to use. You might recognize some of those locations within, and just sharing that journey on how the students will grow and move through the system was really, gave us an opportunity to share that experience with them as becoming Bobcats. I was also able to try out one of our processes that is a student intake form. And not only that serves to collect information about the student, but also as the whole family. Just two things I wanted to lift up from that today. I was able to dig in with the family and really learn that the mom is a gymnast and was a teacher, a kindergarten teacher in her native country. And she is willing to dedicate time at the schools and volunteer at the school, even in the PE room. So to be show the students how to do some of those gymnastic skills. So I thought that was just wonderful, and that came about on asking a detailed question that talks about what hobbies or experiences do you have as a family. I also learned from one of our students that is coming in and joining us from another country that she likes the violin, but she told me that that wasn't in her life path to continue on with, and she is a fourth grader. So even though I told her about the Marshalltown Youth Foundation and how we could help her with that journey. So unlocking these stories and sharing these assets that the families have is something that I really want to bring to life for our buildings, rather than receiving a student without all that background information and without just that cold information that comes from our registration process. So those are a couple things, and I'll also hand you out will you do that, Shauna? Thank you. Hand you out the intake process that we use and then also I was able to share with them kind of a detailed look at where they've been placed at. So this particular family is ready to join a school, and they were able to take that flyer home and just really have that picture at that school right in front of them, those key individuals, and that initial phone call, so we could really talk about attendance with that family and the importance of calling the school and notifying the school when they're going to be not with us for the day of learning. And on the back of that is a map that we're working on that really centers our district attendance center and our welcome center, and then situates where our schools are related to that, so that they can leave the welcome center and really know where they're going to be connected and how they're going to be connected with the Marshalltown schools. These are all kind of drafts in progress, so we're all trying them out and learning about that as we go through and setting ourselves up to be ready for opening doors in July for that, meeting that goal. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide and read to you all these details, but something I do want you to know is that we have a current process for registration and it works. I think we need to have a renewed process, and it's an opportunity for us to do that and really showcase the care and the level of attention that our students and families need. I said that a few times, but right now, a family can register at any of our attendance offices or central office. That sounds really convenient, but it also creates a little bit of misunderstanding and confusion. They may opt to go to an attendance center at one of our 6 elementaries, and that may not be the attendance center that they end up joining. They may opt to go to Lenahan and register their family, but then they might have siblings at another building that they haven't been addressed or been talked to about. And while they're doing that registration at that attendance center, they're working with the secretary, who is also charged with working with the principal and all the students and handling all the phone calls. And so while we know that they do their best to work with our students, that place that they help the families register from isn't always within eyesight, nor is it within hands-on. So oftentimes we'll see a family that stalls out in that registration process and really needs more help. So those are a few of the needs that we have for registration. And then another one of their goals besides the registration is to really work on that student family intake process, which you have a picture of that in front of you. And then I also have a checklist that operates behind the scenes that we wouldn't put in front of families, but really are our talking points to really highlight what are those district logistics, programs, events, and what are some of those policies and practices that we want to lift up to just help our students understand the importance of attendance, immunizations, opportunities for health and wellness that we have, other policies that we want to bring forward depending on the student's age as well. And all the way trickling down through how can your parent be engaged and what is a minimum expectation for learning expectations. We aren't, it's new for some of our families to have a one-to-one Chromebook and what that looks like, and just some of those really important things that make our school grow. Another service goal, I mentioned this too, is to connect with the families with resources. So this is not an exhaustive list by any means. So we value all of our community partners, but these are a few of the key ones that we really wanted to bring forward as supporting that need that our families may have. If there's some instabilities that they're experiencing in the homes, that we can connect them with our community partners right on the spot. And I did want to also mention that one of our goals is to maintain that lens on the immigrant and migrant English learner experience. And so really having that opportunity to talk about what has been that educational journey. Has it been interrupted? What did school look like for you? Instead of just, did you go to school? I mean, yes or no is the answer for that, right? But to really drill down and unpack what school looked like for the day. What were the opportunities? How long was that lunch break? I mean, that sort of a question is what we're looking for. And we're also looking to capture the family in that honeymoon phase. So right when they're coming into a new area, new opportunities, so we can reduce that curve down to that anxiety level. So we can really keep that more even keeled. And we'll also be able to administer our English language screener assessment on site, and just do all the great things that we know that we can position ourselves in Marshalltown schools to really learn from the very beginning. So this is a timeline that we have. It's ranging from, what's not on here is my folder that I've had since 2009 on welcome centers. And really, I got that out of my desk. I keep few things, but that's one of them. All the way from fall of 2021, we've been working on this really hard, and we continue to stay on this journey and open up July of 2023. We'll be very excited. And I know we hold a great degree of responsibility for our community as well, and reopening our icon within our community, and this will be a proud opportunity to do that.
So once this opens, will all school registration take place here?
So this footprint will help our new students to register. So we will direct any families that are new to our school system to the Welcome Center for that registration process.
So if a family's been in the system and they know where their student's going, they'd still register at their home school?
Right. So with continuous enrollment, if there's a student who has moved away and attended a different school or just stopped on that journey, we are going to route them back through our Welcome Center again.
That makes sense.
So all kindergarten registration would be done at the Welcome Center?
So right now, new kindergartners, meaning that if they've been with us in preschool, that will roll up through. So we'd be welcoming our new kinders through that vein.
But all preschoolers would be going here.
We'll probably still need to have a preschool registration event, since this footprint within the Welcome Center won't host large quantities of people at one time to invite, in terms of like registering. So if you haven't been to the registration at Miller Middle School in July, or haven't had an opportunity to join the preschool registration thing, we are not equipped at this attendance center to do those big gatherings for that purpose.
So your passion for this is evident. And I just think this done well is going to be a tremendous benefit and asset for our school district and for our families. This done not well will not, right? I mean,
yeah.
But it seems like we've got the right people in place to do this well.
Well, I think, well, first of all, I want to commend Rachel and Shauna for their work, which you've heard. The reality is that we have many of these systems already in place, but they're in different places. And so it's not convenient to navigate, and it probably contributes to some of the functions of the registration taking longer than they otherwise could. And then I think also with a laser focus on this, with the Welcome Center, there's great opportunity for enhancement of the services that we currently provide, which Rachel talked about, especially as it relates to connecting people proactively with community resources and services as well.
I wanted to mention too, Sean, we are also invited to an upcoming meeting in the community that is going to bring forward an international welcome center that will be slated to be open in Marshalltown as well. So more focused on that adult sector. And so I think this will be an important companion piece, and we look forward to that partnership as well.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this as for the kids, for families, for everybody. This is going to be, this should be great.
It's really important to get the right people there. I agree with you.
Yep.
And I do believe that when it's done well, they'll keep coming back, and we'll see families returning, asking for more support or for other agencies, and they'll know that we're a trusted partner to help them with the agencies that are here in the community.
So what are some of the key things that when you went and visited the other welcome centers, some of the key things that really stuck out to you that you want to implement here that you saw there?
A few of the things that we looked at, just in general, one of the things that stuck out to me with Des Moines was the process for entering into the facility. And also they had moved around that facility a lot. It was a one location, but it had been kind of put it in open school. And so we thought, sometimes when you visit, you think, what do we not want to do?
Yeah.
Also as well. So that was something that we were looking at to really have that welcoming experience. We also looked at the staffing, and we recognized that we already had some key people in places that could support those roles. With the Sioux City in particular, really looking at their use of unique roles in helping bring on their families in terms of like the student intake specialist. I would say that's not something that Des Moines Public Schools is doing at this time, but it's something that Sioux City is working on. I thought that was an important element too as well.
Des Moines had these incredible cardstock pamphlets that really showcased the different programs that they had in multiple languages. So that was something we've mocked up a few of them, thinking through the lens of if the family shows interest in something specific, we can put a portfolio or something together for them that really gives them the direction and how to access that here in the community, but also in the school district.
So I know one of the things that when I was at Miller, students dealt with is we had students who didn't ride school buses, they rode the city buses. So will you have someone to help coordinate that if you've got a parent who's working and has students at different buildings?
Yeah, so transportation is always something we ask about on our registration process. We want to make sure that all those barriers are removed, so we'd look at different opportunities for them. The school bus would be one of those. If it's not possible, what city bus existing opportunities would be, and we definitely make a call right to the city bus location, which we've done before, to go ahead and kind of pinpoint where those stops are at.
Other questions or comments? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you're up.
All right, well, hello again, and we bring to you our November 7th student report. Okay, so the Science Bound program at the high school has taken, or at least took, a small break from their college readiness preparations in order to paint pumpkins and hold a contest where the whole high school was allowed to vote for the favorite pumpkin. And on the next page, we'll see some of. So on the left, I guess, I don't know. On the left side, we can see a couple students who agreed to be photographed, enjoying their time, painting some pumpkins, putting their whole artistic prowess into things. And on the right, we can see that the display case at the high school was filled with these decorative monstrosities that the school thoroughly enjoyed.
So which of the monstrosities was the winner?
It's kind of hard to see, but do you see that little, like, big eyeball on the ground? It's really, yes, that one won. Yes, the white one with like the scary eyeballs and like a big black mouth, it was my own creative masterpiece, just in case you were asking. Right. Right, and so the Healthcare Careers Club at MHS has a kind of a goal and purpose to teach incoming freshmen, leaving seniors, all sorts of students about the possible career paths they can take in the medical field. This is a really good way for students to kind of dip their toe in the side of things. They often visit a wide variety of healthcare facilities. We visited eye doctor places. We visited cadaver labs. I did that during my freshman year, which sure was interesting. And recently they visited the Iowa River Hospice and learned about what it takes to provide end-of-life care to patients. And here you can see a couple pictures that I did not take, so I apologize if they're not that good. But we can see the students speaking or learning from the healthcare professionals. And this really is monumental for a lot of kids in learning, okay, is this what I want to do? Okay, so the Kindness Project is actually kind of an umbrella club within the Healthcare Career Club. This mini club has more of a community acceptance and volunteering kind of focus. And this is a recent picture of one of their meetings where they planned a movie night where they watched Monsters, Inc. And I believe the purpose of that was to create more of a knit-tie school community. Okay, so we know the loss of those 4 students did leave a significant gap in our community, but the students and staff have been doing a good job of providing excellent social, emotional support, being there for one another. Certified counselors were available all day in the library at MHS where students could go and learn and talk about what they were feeling and see how they could grieve in the most healthy manner.
Alrighty. We're talking about recent Marshalltown Learning Academy events that occurred. Recently, we volunteered for the Animal Rescue League to help clean any minor things that they would be having a recent event for Halloween. We cleaned the mirrors for the cats and painted them, decorated the building, and we assisted them with walking their dogs around the building outside. IJAC also went to their annual 23rd Leadership Conference in Fort Dodge with other members around the community and around the state of Iowa to learn about leadership and communication with one another and to learn more about why others joined IJAC and their stories as well. And on this pictures, you can see students working on decorating rooms. In the middle, you could see students picking a dog to walk around outside the building. And on the last picture, you can see people cleaning the mirrors. I'm actually right there on the all tan white shoes, scraping paint off of that mirror, which was difficult and took long. And on this picture, you could see all students that participated and took time out of their day to go to the leadership program. And in the middle was a very well-spoken motivational speaker who talked about his life and his journey throughout growing up and his struggles. And on the last picture, you can see us participating on a cup flipping contest. The goal was to flip the most colored. Our color was orange, but then also the opposite team could flip our cup down, which didn't end well. Let's say that. Let's continue. It didn't.
Abraham, did both MLA and Marshalltown High School send
Yes.
students to that?
Actually, as well, Marshalltown Middle School actually attended that event as well.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of middle schoolers as well.
All right, so for sports, girls basketball and boys swimming both started today. They had their first practice. Boys basketball and boys wrestling starts next Monday. And 7 girls made it to state for girls swimming, which I think is this Saturday for state. Not exactly sure on that, but I know that 7 girls made it. Oh, and sorry, girls wrestling started last Monday too, October 31st.
And like always, if you guys are ever confused about what any of these activities mean or why they happen, feel free to ask any questions you may have.
Questions from anybody?
My kids appreciated the Halloween night the other night, by the way.
The trick or treat?
Trunk or treat. Yeah, it was a big hit.
Glad to hear. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so with Paulette's departure and Randy's arrival, we have a need for a new board secretary. Randy has graciously volunteered to serve in that role.
Due to contract.
Pending board approval. So
Go with that.
we need a motion to approve Randy Denham as board secretary and treasurer for the Marshalltown Community School District.
All of it.
Thank you.
We'll go with Faltis and Wall.
That's good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, with that, Randy, I have to swear you in.
We're all in.
Yeah, I told you, he was gonna. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Secretary in Marshalltown Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
I do.
And Randy, your first official presentation here is for the lease of Arnold's Park.
Yeah, actually, I can.
I would say I'm just doing
you're off the hook.
just whatever Theron told me. So
So basically, we have a resolution that we need the board to approve that calls for a public hearing on a renewed lease agreement for Arnold's Park. As I had shared with you in news and notes, the original agreement was 1954, so it's been 68 years that we've had this lease agreement with the city to turn what formerly was a school site into a neighborhood park. It's just off South 7th Street between Church and Lynn, if you've never been over there. And so we're looking to renew that lease for the foreseeable future, and we'll present that in the form of a public hearing on November 21st.
So we need a motion to fix the date for a public hearing on the proposed lease of Arnold's Park as presented.
So moved.
Second.
McGinnis, Lowry, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
The next item is early notification incentive recommendation. Representing Dr. Nora Ryan here, in that we, as a cabinet, feel that last year the early notification incentive was very beneficial in terms of encouraging people to notify us as early as possible, namely by the end of December, if they knew at that point that they would not be returning for the next school year. We offer a $1,000 notification incentive. There's a lot of criteria and conditions on that. I would say that probably 85 to 90% of those that notified us, we were able to fill those positions and fill most of them pretty early. It was very advantageous to get an early jump in January and February on finding high-quality candidates. And so we would recommend that the board allow for us to offer that incentive again.
Other questions?
Dr. Schutte, is there anything in the contracts going forward every year where it could be in their contracts where if we give a pay increase that they'd have to slightly give it back unless they gave us a notice by a certain date?
Well, they have to complete their contract in order to retain the incentive. So we do, if they were to leave before their contract were completed, then they would restitute the district for that incentive that they were awarded.
So I think maybe, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is, could we rewrite our contracts so that we wouldn't have to pay this incentive every year, but the contract basically said, ask them to notify us in advance? Is that what you're?
Correct, with, if they did get a pay bump or whatever that year, that they'd have to give back, say, $500 if they didn't notify us by whatever the date is.
I mean, legal would figure something out if that was the case. I just don't know if that's.
We haven't really had that discussion because we saw this as a short-term piloted thing to utilize, particularly while we have some federal funds that can be devoted to it. So, we may over time find that it is something we do want to institutionalize. And in that case, possibly we would look at putting it in the contract, but I wouldn't recommend doing that at this time with our second year of desired implementation.
Did that answer your question, Zach? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that you want to get in a loop of like this becomes the new normal thing that you have to do all the time.
Right. Other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the early notification incentive in the amount of $1,000 as presented?
So moved.
Lowry, Faltis, or Stanley?
Stanley.
We're gonna rearrange the seats so that you guys aren't next to each other, so I can tell who's talking. Lowry, Stanley, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 5-1.
Okay, the next item, I'm kind of filling in for Technology Director Amy Harmson. We would like board approval to seek RFPs, to seek bids on a project that would result in the installation of I believe it's 73 vape detectors across our secondary schools and intermediate schools. So we're looking at Marshtown High School, Marshtown Learning Academy, Miller Middle School, and Lenahan Intermediate School. I think most people are aware of the drastic increase in the use of vaping by youth for tobacco as well as in THC products at times. We're looking at these detectors as a means to hopefully further deter students from bringing those illegal substances onto our campuses and certainly using them at our campuses.
Questions?
So we're looking at getting quotes for them?
Correct. Yep.
Makes sense.
Are there other schools that have implemented something
Yes.
like this? What's the success rate been to?
I don't know if I could tell you the success rate. This has been a relatively recent phenomenon, I would say particularly during COVID. And so I know a district of our size or larger that has implemented this recently, like within the past year, has felt like it's significantly reduced the number of situations that they've had to deal with regarding student discipline.
Okay.
It's not fixing the problem,
Right.
it's moving the problem and trying to keep the problem outside of the school boundary.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion to approve seeking a request for proposal of vape detectors as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wall Faltus. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
The next item, we have before you an agreement with FEH for the stadium project for their architectural services and also the services of engineers and both electrical and mechanical and civil. That essentially it's the same team that we've been working with on the last couple large projects. So Clapsaddle Garber here locally, and then KCL out of Des Moines for the mechanical and electrical. The agreement calls for 7.5% of the project, which is just under $6 million, so at a cost of $378,700. And then, that could fluctuate depending on alternates chosen and that sort of thing, but very fair fee in today's market. And as you're aware, we've been engaged with them on this project in some way, shape, or form for probably a year and a half due to invoking their help in applying for the FEMA grant, which is a separate project, but it's directly connected to the overall work of the stadium project.
Any questions for Dr. Schutte?
So when do we find out about the FEMA grant?
Hopefully by winter break. They told us that it could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days, and we're starting to get closer to that 60-day period from the time that we submitted the responses to the RFI that they had sent, but there's no way to know for sure how quickly. We're hoping it's soon because we really would like to get going on the process of towards seeking bids on a tornado safe team room as well, which would be a separate RFP process. But fortunately, we're probably 75 to 80% of the architectural planning needed to be completed in order to submit that grant. So we're in a good spot in terms of them being in position to finish what they would need to do to go out to bid, but it's starting to get tight in terms of doing it at a time that's advantageous for us for the bidding climate, as well as to get the project done this summer. But that project can be completed separate from the stadium project, and if need be. And once you're awarded that grant, I think you have a 3-year window from the time it's awarded to get it completed and to use the funds.
So which part of the project's the FEMA grant going for?
The FEMA grant is exclusively the tornado safe team room, so that
Okay.
would be the locker room-like spaces, the new concession stand, public restrooms.
So if that grant didn't come through, are we still planning to build it?
We would not build it, or at least for sure build it to the extent that it's designed for. Yeah.
So then this work here, for the piece that's in front of us, is regarding the rest of that work.
Right, it would be the field itself, the track, the home and visitor bleacher areas, scoreboard, everything other than the tornado safe team room.
Right.
Yep. The walkways, pathways around there.
Other questions? Is there a motion to approve the Marshalltown High School Athletic Campus Owner and Architect Agreement as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Faltus Wall, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Policies.
Yeah, as far as first readings, we had one policy that Zach had that came back, 501.15R, open enrollment, receiving district regulation. With that, we had removed the former deadline of March 1st per legislation. So we have not made any other adjustments since we last reviewed it, so I'd recommend approving and waiving the second reading.
Any questions or comments about 501.15R? If not, is there a motion to approve and waive the second reading?
Move to approve.
Second.
Lowry, Faltus, all in favor?
Stanley.
Was it really?
Lowry, Stanley, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. All right, Sarah, we'll do your 3 initial review policies first.
Fantastic. Okay. So I had 502.1 student appearance, and in that policy, there's a small edit and an update to the legal and cross-reference, and we can mark it as reviewed. The second one is 502.3. That one just has an update to the legal and cross-reference, so it can also be marked as reviewed. And last but not least, 502.3-R1 is student expression and student publications code. No changes to that one, so it can be marked as reviewed as well.
Any questions, comments about any of those? Okay. They will be marked as reviewed.
Okay. All of these will be recommended to come back for a first reading. 502.2, care of school property pertaining to vandalism. This is a new policy that we do not currently have on the books, so we would recommend that that be adopted. 401.14, employee expression was through. Most of these policies that are coming before you were due to changes in the last legislative session, and so either strengthening the importance of compliance with state law or Iowa code, or many of them have to do with making sure that districts are being transparent with curriculum and instruction and other things. So those are just kind of side notes. So 401.14, employee expression. A lot to do with strengthening our compliance with the Iowa Code. 402.2, child abuse reporting policy primer. Now they're separating the child abuse and the adult dependent abuse into 2 separate trainings, so that is recognized within that policy. 408.1 licensed employee. Again, strengthening the district's compliance with the Iowa Code is the purpose of that. 601.2 school day removes the ability to count remote learning as instructional time unless it were, so remote learning in the sense of, in lieu of in-person learning, you can still go to an accredited online school like what we have, but we don't have the discretion of putting people on remote learning in lieu of being in person right now. 602.1 curriculum development. Again, just kind of delineates the process for which that needs to take place in a transparent way. 602.2 curriculum implementation, similar Iowa Code compliance. 602.3 curriculum evaluation, similar. 605.1 instructional material selection, also just strengthening the need for districts to be compliant with Iowa Code. 605.1 R1 selection of instructional materials, updated to reflect greater compliance. 605.2 instructional materials inspection, particularly increases the transparency of instructional materials for parents and others. 605.3 objection to instructional materials. This, we had policy on this. This brings more light to include library materials in that process beyond just curriculum and instructional materials. 605.3 R1, objection to instructional and library materials. This is a brand new regulation that we're recommending be adopted. 605.3 E1, instructions to the reconsideration committee. This delineates the types of people that would make up this committee. That would be under the facilitation of our Director of Instruction and the processes that they would use to make determinations. 605.3 E2, reconsideration of instructional materials. Again, becomes inclusive of library materials beyond just curricular materials. There is a new exhibit 605.34, request to prohibit a student from checking out specific library materials. It's a form available to parents and guardians to request that their student not be allowed to check out certain materials that might be housed within the library. 605.4, technology and instructional materials. Just simply includes some alternative forms of technology into that existing policy. 605.5, school library media centers. Just provide some optional language for districts to consider posting their library catalog on their district's website. A lot of libraries have, those catalogs are now digital, so it isn't a huge undertaking to make them available for parents and or the public to see. And 802.4, capital assets. And this, Randy, you can help me here, but I believe this update allows for lease agreements to be considered both assets and or liabilities to the district.
Yes, correct. That's part of new governmental accounting standards that were recently issued.
And that's all I have.
Questions about any or all of those policies?
So in actuality, there's only one new policy. The rest of them have been in effect.
Yeah, I think
And
there
they
is
have-
one new policy and one new exhibit, I believe.
And virtually all of the other policies have to do with the new legislation and censorship and all that stuff.
Yeah, compliance with the changes that were made to the Iowa Code as it relates to transparency and ability for objection to materials and the process for that.
Well, they will all come back next meeting, so you'll have another chance to read them and review them and think of your questions.
It's the legislature.
For the school day policy, the part that we're striking with regard to remote learning, Do we have to strike that? The reason I'm asking is because it says remote learning opportunities will count towards instructional time as allowed by law. So if they're not allowed by law, they won't count towards instructional time.
Will you give me the policy number, please?
This is.
6012?
Yes, 601.2. So I'm just wondering why we would take it out if it already says it only applies if
I think
it's
it's,
allowed by law.
I think it's because we had nothing, those were put in to policy in a emergency temporary way, I think. And with the current position of the legislature as it relates to remote and/or online learning, I think they're pretty direct that they don't intend to allow for school districts to provide that as an option and count it as instructional hours unless it's within the realm of an accredited online school. So again, we're just taking the advice of the attorneys of IASB in terms of taking it out.
I believe it's also been determined that if you cancel school for a whole day due to weather, that
You can't do
you
it.
cannot do remote learning to not have to make that day up. And that's how I understood the striking in that particular paragraph.
More
okay.
about the weather-related type situations.
Yes, that's how I read it anyway. If we have a
Because
snow
it's
day
in the
tomorrow,
weather policy.
we couldn't have a policy that says get online and do these activities for your class. We'll count it as a day of school.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's
makes
not
sense.
allowed anymore.
And it doesn't affect our students that are suspended because they're on an actual accredited site? Is that the deal? Because we have students who are suspended, they're supposed to be getting credit for the stuff they're doing at home.
Yeah, it really doesn't apply to those types of situations. I think it's looking at when, it kind of as Bonnie had said, it's looking at when you provide that as an option for all or any significant
Because it says when the school's forced to
part of your school population, whether it was a building or district-wide or whatever, you just can't supplant remote learning for what would have normally be in-person learning.
Oh, because it specifies when school's closed, not just the actual.
I think to your original question, Leah, it sounds like no one thinks you're ever going to have the chance to do that.
Yeah.
And so why not just take it out of the policy completely? I think.
Okay. My thought was, people change
Yeah.
in government and policy, their direction changes, so do you just leave it in, and if it's allowed, it's there by law, it's there as an option, if it's not, you can't use it, but that could also create confusion with the general population that's not up to date on what the current law states, so I understand both ways.
Yeah, so basically if the law changed, we'd end up putting it back in, is what you're thinking?
Could.
You could,
Yeah.
if you had a situation that called for it.
Okay.
All right, good evening again. One of the main updates I wanted to share was we now have Facebook pages officially for all of our district buildings. That's a specific part of goal number 4 of our strategic communications plan. So now those pages, MLA and Fisher specifically, I'm working with the principals to help build out the followership. We already have strong Facebook presence on most, if not all, of our other pages that have existed for a while. So kind of going to leverage the audiences we have there to help increase the engagement with those new pages. So excited for that, and I'm excited that we were able to get that all shored up with all 10 of our building locations. So, and then sort of to the part of the point that Rachel Inks was making earlier when she was presenting on the Welcome Center, she and I were able to go to a really good presentation that was sponsored by INSPRA about inclusive communications. So it pertains to goal 3 of the strategic communications plan, and it was a really good thing for her and I to be able to sit and talk about the Welcome Center, as well as just in general being very conscious and very purposeful about the language we use to make sure everybody feels included. We have a very diverse community, of course, so we have we were provided with a style guide for inclusive communications, so that has been, I've been reviewing that. It's a long document provided by the Capital Region. It's an organization of schools in New York State, but they provided this template. So I know she was talking about all kinds of important stuff with the Welcome Center. I did want to mention that as well, as that's related. So,
Questions for Adam?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We've got a few reminders. Remember end of next week, the IASB annual convention is taking place. I think nearly everybody, those of us who will be in the state will be attending, I think. Those of us who are going to be gone will not. So hopefully that'll be a good experience for everybody, a good learning opportunity. Looks like I get the initial review policies for next meeting, and the Marshalltown Virtual Academy is presenting at our next meeting as well. Committee reports. The Teacher Quality Committee met Wednesday, October 19th. Jan, were you able to attend?
I was not. Sean had sent me some information. It sounds like they had a good discussion. Would you rather address it, since you were there?
We talked about the out-of-state travel for PLC institutes and how successful that was. We really thought about whether or not we wanted to do something similar this summer, knowing that our TQ budget is very healthy, as it normally is. So we had support from our TQ committee to open up opportunities for people to attend on-site PLC institutes, and I'll be coming to you with more information after we gauge how much interest there is. And we talked about the form, the TQ form, and we're planning as of now to keep it the same, although there are some new Google form functions that we're going to explore to maybe get some efficiency there. And that really comes to like the teachers who want to request additional TQ time with their IPDP. And can you remember anything else, Jan?
Those were the two main things that you talked about, and then possibly...
Oh, Online Academy.
Right.
We're opening Online Academy during the school year, so teachers can take asynchronous learning courses that we've already designed. They had the opportunity in the summer, but we're opening it up, and just in case some people would like to do that between November and April. Those are the three things. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. The Auditorium Foundation Committee met. Bonnie, anything you want to?
I do. So, our new auditorium manager was introduced at our meeting, who is Jose Ramirez. Also, a big ticket item that we're going to start to look at is the audio system. Right now, the system's analog with some digital, and just taking a peek at that. So that might be a direction that the foundation goes. Also, we talked about modernizing the ticket booth that's there in the Performing Arts Center. And Amy Ossie and Paul Seeberger and myself, we were the subcommittee to look at that. We actually met today. We have some ideas about what we'd like to propose. And so I think at this point in time, we probably need to talk to Theron and also an architect to even see if things can be done the way that we're envisioning them.
Yeah, so I've already contacted an architectural firm to do both of those things. So one will be to do an audit of our current systems that are within there to make a determination on what we should be thinking about in terms of improvements and such. And then I also shared with them there's a possible desire to renovate and/or enlarge what is currently the ticket booth area to
Right,
change
and
it.
that's what we looked at today.
Yeah, so once I get an idea of their readiness, and I've tried to push them sooner than later, we'll get something arranged that works for everybody.
Great. We have some suggestions that were written up from our meeting today, and if we could just share those with somebody to
Right.
see if they're possible. We talked about the public art piece that's out in front of the auditorium that is not quite finished. And the board, the foundation board, went ahead and approved finishing off that area by putting in concrete, stamped concrete around the outside, so there isn't any grassy area there. It will take away opportunity for it to get chipped up by a lawnmower or something like that. So it ought to take care of itself, basically. And so that particular project is coming out of the foundation, the Auditorium Foundation Board, and not the district. Makes sense? And also the lighting would go in. So the lighting and the concrete were both approved to move forward. So Todd, I think, is going to do the electrical from the district, and then whoever, Amber gets to do the concrete, and then it will be finished. And our next meeting is in January. We usually just have 2 a year, but we felt that if we wanted to propose some projects for budgetary reasons, and it's a project that the district would share with the Auditorium Foundation Board, we needed to get that to the district as soon as possible so that if it needed to be summer work, it could get in the budget.
I think the other thing was there were some projects that were slated for last summer that didn't get completed with redoing of the burlap on the back wall of the Performing Arts Center and also some of the runways. So I think Todd and Jose are charged with getting updated quotes and
quotes.
bids on that. Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
And then internal communications met on October 28. Dr. Schutte, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, some of it is a duplication of what we've been talking about. Teacher quality, there were a lot of teacher quality questions that Shauna clarified for the group. We talked about the early resignation incentive, and Nora talked a little bit about FMLA processes. Probably the biggest topic was as a result of Alex Klein and some other members of our administrative and teacher team participating in Leadership Marshalltown. There was an enthusiasm for how can we do a better job telling our own story so that others don't tell a story that isn't truly reflective of the Marshalltown School District. So we spent a lot of time talking about how important it is for everyone from the buildings through the district to be moving in that direction of sharing the great things that are happening every single day in our classrooms, buildings, community, district, etc. Then we also talked a little bit about procedures as it relates to dealing with student discipline, particularly as it relates to the differentiation between minor and major incidences that are at the building level, and how to process and work through that in an efficient and effective way, both in communication as far as actions. So that was essentially what we talked about there.
Yeah, it was a really good discussion about spreading the word, communication. It was a really good discussion, I thought. So, Jonna, Matt, anything else you guys want to? You were there, weren't you? Yeah. Okay.
Perfect distance,
Yeah.
I don't know if Dr. Schutte has shared with you that there's been some testimonies or just some reflections from that Leadership Marshalltown group that are really powerful to read. Just people who are from the community that are in the Leadership Marshalltown group that have been in and out of our schools on that one day. And they're pretty incredible to read through what their perspectives are of our schools now that they've had an opportunity to get in and see our students learn and our teachers in action. So we could probably share that with you as well.
Mhm.
I don't know if we should test it.
Yeah.
I think some of the quotes are in the high school presentation.
I think they
that
were.
we didn't see tonight, but there are some quotes in that presentation.
Yeah, some of them were. Yep. Okay. Well, what have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
I think the Welcome Center, that is just really exciting. I think it can be, if it's done well, it's going to make a big difference to our families and our students.
And approving the FFA organization and moving forward. Back when I was at the high school, that was mentioned, even way back then in the archaic days. And we would, some students would actually go to West Marshall just to do the FFA piece. So it's another reason for our Marshalltown students to come and access their education here in the Marshalltown Community School District because of all the opportunities that are now available.
We continue to move ahead on the athletic complex, the stadium renovation remodel, so that's good.
I enjoyed the Marshalltown Youth Foundation presentation, just seeing everybody kind of working together to make things happen for the kids in the community. And I think it's a really good example of that with all of the different, between the school district, the foundation, and then all of the different participating organizations across the community.
Yeah, they didn't mention it, but on, fifth grade, Get Your Instrument Night, they've got a table set up and they're signing you up and handing you trombones and trumpets and whatever it is you need. It's pretty impressive to see, so.
I think one thing that was good for us as a board tonight were the presentations from our students who came to share their research projects, and I'm just going, holy cow. The research that they've done, I didn't understand, what's fertilizer, okay. So nicely done. I mean, the brilliance is there, and the leadership that is available within to help our students share their passions and help each other to be the best that they can be. So that was good for me to see that tonight. So I think it's awesome, and I hope that our viewers, whoever might tune in, sees that also, because that's high-level learning. That is truly extended learning.
It really is, and it's something that when people from the public approach me about education today, and I said, we have really raised our expectations of what we expect from young people today. And I was rather proud of the fact that I actually knew what carbonated biomass was.
Well, I think it's exciting for more kids to have opportunities. As we saw today, FFA, is providing more opportunities for students to step into leadership roles. We're required by, I think it's 2024 or 2025, to have these types of organizations in each of the CTE areas. So we'll have some form of Future Business Leaders of America. We'll have some form of, in Family Consumer Science Leadership Club and Industrial Arts as well. And so more and more kids are going to have opportunities kids are going to have more opportunities to step up into different forms of leadership, which is going to position themselves really well for the future.
I think so.
Okay. Well, that will take us to the end of the public portion of the meeting. We'll have a closed session. Before we go into closed session, we'll take about a 5-minute break to let everybody who is leaving leave, and anybody who needs a chance to get a drink can get a drink. Thanks.
I have the document.
Oh, you do, okay. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you have it electronically?
Yeah, I have that
Okay.
electronically, yep.
And I don't know if that's helpful for the.
Yes, no, yep, that helped me a lot. I figured out what it was and